Hi guys, welcome back to Frenemies podcast. I am Meg and this is Rad.
Today we're discussing something that is really close to our hearts. We're talking about battling depression, anxiety, how to cope up with it, what we do, recognizing symptoms, knowing when to seek help, and we hope this helps anybody who had any questions about it.
Again, know that we are not professionals. This is just our opinion and how we deal with it. And yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah, these are just our experiences, and we just thought since this is something we have battled and dealt with, maybe this could help someone out there. In today's day and age where social media plays like a super important role in everybody's lives, especially ours, considering what we do for a living, what does mental health mean to you?
Just dealing with things that are happening in your daily life, you know, like the emotional, physical, and the things that are going on in your head. Sometimes you're like overthinking things so much so in my head that maybe anyone else around me is not thinking the same thing. It's just in my head and it doesn't mean anything. But it basically just ruins my whole day and how my thought process is. So yesterday I woke up and like everything was just going wrong. Very little things, like the dress I was wearing was not fitting well, or the studio I was booking, I had a shoot yesterday and the timing was not going well. The photographer was late and this, like everything was just going wrong. I was on the way and my phone got disconnected. A lot of things were happening, but I had disconnected to Bluetooth, like random things were happening. But there was a very big thing that was happening in my life that I was not focusing, so I was thinking of all the little things that were happening. And everything was just pissing me off. And I was like, oh, what is it exactly? But they were not the little things. There was one big thing that was going on in my head. That's why I was just navigating through the small things and I was like, oh, I just don't want to deal with that problem. So I'm just thinking about all the small issues that are happening in my life. So it's basically that for me, I think.
Yeah.
To have to deal with the bigger issue. And
Yeah, I think mental health for me is just focusing on various aspects of your life and being able to deal with them, whether it is physical, emotional, psychological, whatever it is. I feel like a good mental health just gives you all the ways to deal with these things in the best to the best of your abilities. So that's why I think focusing on our mental health is so important. Good mental health for me is having a good balance of my emotional well-being, my psychological well-being, my physical well-being. As long as I'm able to give my 100% in all of these areas, I feel like that's me having a good mental health. As long as I'm productive, as long as I'm present in the moment. I think that's something we don't really talk about as often anymore, and especially because of social media and how we see everybody's lives, and we're always thinking about that next trip and that next this thing and that next outfit.
Yeah, you're not living in the moment.
Yeah, I think being present is so important for our mental health. But you recently told me this, that you've never really dealt with anxiety for like a really long part of your life, and it's something that is very recent, and you've been feeling very anxious recently.
I feel like it comes with a lot of responsibilities. If you have a lot of responsibilities, you feel like, oh, how am I going to do this?
Yeah.
How am I going to deal with it? So you're like, oh, because you don't have an answer to it.
Yeah.
And you just feel anxious. Like there's this friend of mine who was telling me, a lot of friends that I have around me are like talking about, oh, I got a panic attack the other day because of something I saw or something I read. And I'm just like, oh, I don't know how that feels, but just
A lot of people also take it lightly though. Like I feel like sometimes the words like panic attack are just used very lightly when they are not.
No, probably she's feeling it because she was explaining how like I couldn't breathe and
Yeah,
I couldn't.
no, obviously.
Like she's like, oh, I forgot how to breathe. And I was like, oh, that's as simple as breathing. People forget.
Yeah.
Because like there are so many things that are happening and they're like, oh fuck, why did I see this? Why did I do that? So I feel anxious when things are not right.
Yeah.
I don't know how to
things are not going your way.
Yeah, or if I don't know how to deal with it.
Okay.
So I'm just like, oh, who do I ask or how do I do this? So if I don't have the right answer, I'm just like like I think about all the things,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh, now it's not going to work out, or
Yeah.
what will I do?
When was the first time that you can remember feeling this way?
I feel like when in a relationship, when I was in a relationship,
Like how long ago was that? What happened?
like 3-4 years ago, where there was no certainty,
Okay.
and if I was not getting the right answer, I'm just like, oh, it was nothing.
Yeah.
It was a lot of things that I was building in my head.
Yeah.
It was probably his phone was off, or he didn't check his phone or something, and I was thinking
Yeah.
the whole night I was up checking if he's online, that WhatsApp phase where you're like, oh, is he online or not? The last scene, if he's coming or not, and it was nothing.
Yeah.
But because you're building so many scenarios in your head and you don't have clarity from the other person, you start feeling anxious.
Yeah.
It also plays a very important role in a relationship where both the parties are like, if you make me feel, I didn't know what insecurity was
Yeah.
until it happened to me. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, because you're not making me feel secure.
People can't make you feel anything. We feel what we feel on the inside. It can be motivated by other people's behaviors, but people
Yeah.
can't make you feel anything.
I feel like if I have clarity,
Yeah.
I will be secure. If there's a dicey situation where you're like, but yeah.
Yeah. People can offer you clarity for sure.
Yeah, so if I have clarity, I'll be secure, like me as a person.
Yeah.
And because I am very okay with how I am and how I deal with things, how I can just walk toe to toe in a conversation, and
Yeah.
I'm good with relationships. Like I will make an effort and do everything. So I'm very secure in who I am.
Yeah.
So someone to make me feel otherwise is not okay. Like I've dealt it the hard way, and I could have, if I knew better, I would deal with it better.
Yeah.
But I think that's when I got insecure. But I'm back to being me now, and that's something that I feel like I say it very easily that I'm okay with things. But I think as days go by, I will be more secure and a better person.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I feel like I have dealt with anxiety. I don't even remember the first time I felt anxious, because that's how long it's been since I've been feeling anxious. It got to a point where I thought it's just who I am. And this is something that I said in therapy as well. I told my therapist, I was like, I just think this is who I am as a person, so much so that I'm so attached to my anxiety and the way it makes me function that sometimes I'm kind of scared to not be anxious. And that's such a weird thing to say,
yeah.
but it's just my normal.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm just...
And things are going right. You're just like, oh, nothing is going wrong.
No, like I feel like I'm kind of scared to not be anxious anymore, because my anxiety has been such a driving factor in my life to make me do things, because I personally suffer from high functioning anxiety, and I was diagnosed by a medical professional with high functioning anxiety. So it's just something that pushes me to do better, and it's something that pushes me to get shit done, to work, to get up and, you know, prove to myself and everybody else that I am
productive.
Yeah, I'm worth it, and I am supposed to be here. So I don't even know when it started, but I can tell you that I grew up really anxious, just because of life, and there was a lot of uncertainty growing up, and I didn't have a lot of people in my life who I could have spoken to when I was young. But I just think it's who I became after a point, and it got really bad for me a couple of years ago when I had just moved into my first ever apartment. I was still sharing it with 2 more people, but okay, so I'm going to give a little bit of context here, but I never really slept alone ever. I had never slept alone in my life, because I grew up in a 2-bedroom apartment, and my parents, for whatever reason, didn't want to sleep in the same room, so I always kind of had to sleep next to one of them, because there were only like 2 beds. So up until the age of 18, when I was in Delhi, I was sleeping next to one parent or another, and then I moved into a hostel when I came to Bombay, and it was 3 people in one room, so there were always 2 more people in the same room as me. And then I moved into this apartment where there was nobody in the same room as me.
They had flatmates.
Yeah, I had
not roommates.
flatmates who had these different rooms, but I was sleeping alone, all by myself for the first time. And everything was fine for about a month or two, but there was this one incident where I woke up with a rat in my head. And it's so funny because it was a really funny story for everybody. And, you know, at the time I didn't realize what that would do to me. But as my therapist and I broke it down, it was something that I suddenly felt unsafe in my own home and in my own bed, because your bed and your home are your comfiest space. It's your safe zone. And I felt attacked in that space. So it triggered me with panic attacks, and you know this, that I could not sleep alone. I was really, really anxious. I had these times. It was perhaps the darkest phase of my life, but I was still like the most productive I've ever been. This is when I had my boxing classes, my Pilates, my acting class, my 2 dance classes, my Kathak class, and my gymnastics. Like, this is when I had my crazy schedule of classes, and I was still somehow making it work. But I feel like that was the darkest time of my life, and what eventually helped me was therapy and talking to my friends, and just kind of understanding why this is happening. And once I broke it down, and once I was able to kind of find a safe space again, I never found that house was never my safe space. I didn't sleep alone in that house for about a year that I lived there. Meghna, Shivani, etc. were always sleeping next to me. But I moved into a different apartment, and I feel like that, like, just a change in scenario and my physical space also really, really helped me. But yeah, that was that.
It took a lot of time for you to sleep alone again.
Yeah, it did. And now I love it so much that I just...
Sometimes you're like, oh, people can leave the apartment. Dude, I want to be alone.
I swear, I moved into this apartment, and everybody... this is a 3-bedroom, and one of these rooms is a guest room. And everybody was like, why do you need a guest room? You know, like... anytime your friends or your parents come, they can always sleep in the same bed as you. You can have an extra bed. And I was like, dude, I am not sleeping in the same bed as anyone. Like, me and my dog are a happy little combination.
Yeah, even I love sleeping alone. Like, I just want to sleep alone. In the end, when I'm having a very hectic day and everything is said and done, I want to be in my space. Like, me and Radhika, we chill together, and then I was like, okay, chal, bahut ho gaya. Now I want to be alone and watch my own thing.
Like, literally, we shot a podcast 20 minutes ago, and Meghna, after a point, was like, okay, I'm going home and coming. And I was like, what do you mean? We need to, like, shoot another podcast. And she's just like, no, I'm just want to be alone. I'm going to come in, like, sometime.
I said, give me 20. I'll come back.
Yeah, I think honestly, you know what, to answer the previous question, which was what does mental health mean to you, I think just being at peace with who you are all by yourself,
it's so important.
Any external means.
It's so important to just like give some time to yourself and be alone with your thoughts.
Yeah.
So you know what exactly you need and want, because there's sometimes you want things and you don't need them.
Yeah.
And it's just like, just to separate those is so important.
It gives you so much clarity. Like, the time I spend alone, it's just so important to me that sometimes when I'm around people, I'm just like, shh, shut up. Don't talk. You're interrupting the voices in my head. Just stop talking.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt disassociation? Do you know what disassociation is?
As in what way?
Like, it's a mental, I don't want to say disorder, but like something like that. And that also, I just remembered, is something that I went through, and it was probably the scariest thing to happen to me. But it's basically, disassociation is basically when you disassociate from your body, when the stress gets to you so much that you feel like, I could be talking to you right now, but I'm watching this happen from here, as in a third person.
No, I have no
so
idea.
I'll be looking at me and you, and I'd be out of my body.
Wow.
It's the scariest thing that's ever happened to me. and this has happened to me a lot of times.
Really?
It happens to me a lot of times. It's too scary because you feel like you're not in control of your own body
Thoughts.
and mind. And exactly something we were, I'm not gonna spoiler alert, but whatever, we were watching something the other day, and this person who killed somebody was like,
this you can dissociate. Oh, she's explained how you can
Dissociation.
dissociate from your body and so.
That's when the stress gets to you so much. And it used to happen to me where in like a conversation, I would just and I would really need to grounding yourself, also very important, because you would really need to ground yourself, like you would want to see something, feel something in order to just feel more in control and more I don't know how to even explain it, but it's a really, really scary thing. And the only way to kind of overcome it is to kind of ground yourself. See someone you love, to like feel the floor, to like smell something, taste something. It's one of those things that brings you back to reality. And yeah, it's also something that's like super, super common.
I had no idea.
Yeah, it's mad scary. The other day I was shooting for something in Bali in the villa, and I was standing on like the edge. This is before you came, but it was like an infinity pool, and I was standing on top of the edge shooting for something. And if I fell, there was like a river behind me, like a Nala type of river, or I could fall into the pool. And I kept like disassociating, and I got so scared that what if a part of me just jumps into the river? It's a really scary thought, but it kept coming to me. So I had to like physically hold the pool ka ledge and be like, okay, no, this is not gonna happen, and then I stopped shooting and I sat in the water and came out. Because I was so obviously like, if I were to fall, the better thing would be to fall in the pool, not the nala behind me.
That's so scary.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd relate to a lot of things because I don't deal with it.
Yeah.
I'm just like in my head. So I was like, I don't want to bother anyone else. So I keep things in my head, and then one day I'm just like, you don't listen to me.
Yeah, that's a very scary thing to do.
Yeah.
Because people will
I feel like that's so, I just know that what you'll say.
But there's
And
only so many advices anyone can give.
I know, but I'm just like, every day I'm trying. And I was like, okay, I'm going to be better.
Yeah.
So it's not like I'm in denial.
Yeah.
Like I know what's happening around.
Yeah.
I feel like there's so many things that are happening. I'm just like, oh, I have to deal with this, I have to deal with this, I have to deal with this. I don't have the bandwidth
to deal
with it.
Yeah. But that's exactly the advice we're giving everyone else, which applies to you as well.
Yeah,
that you
I
need
know.
to kind of talk to people.
I know.
Yeah.
That's why I do now.
Yeah. You always need to, because also the scary thing about bottling it all up is that the day it comes out, people will not understand it.
Yeah.
Because they will be like, she was fine 5 minutes ago.
Like 0 to 100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that used to happen to me a lot. I used to just be like, no, fuck it. What's the point? And then I would just be like yelling, and everyone would be like, what the fuck? She was fine 5 minutes ago. How can she be so bothered by this one glass that's kept there?
Yeah.
And they wouldn't understand that it's like coming from this
everything
thing.
that is happening.
Yeah. So I just wish you would also like open up.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's something.
Yeah, how to deal with it then?
I dealt with it. Therapy played a really important
It's so
role.
important that people think, oh, you're taking therapy. Fuck them. Because
I think
it's so
everybody needs therapy, because
no matter what, like if you're in a good space, mentally, you just need to talk to someone who's outside your friend circle, who will have an opinion,
who will have an objective opinion, you know, who is not going to be, oh yeah, I can't tell her that she's wrong because what if she stops being friends with me?
It's so
somebody who's
important.
going to give you an objective opinion. It's somebody you are paying, so you are more likely to believe them and listen to them as well. I'm sorry, but that is my opinion. It's somebody.
They can't be a friend.
Yeah. I think therapy is really, really important, and I'm glad that more and more people, especially in our generation, are like open to taking therapy. I know so many of my friends, I think 6 out of 10 friends of mine have been to therapy, are going to therapy, and really appreciate
Yeah, it's
therapy.
really, people will just randomly be saying, oh, can you give me your therapist number, or can you give me your friend's therapist number? And I love that.
Yeah.
I love that people are taking an initiative and be like, oh, I need help.
Yeah.
So I want to deal with it. And it's
And
not even
everybody
like
needs
help.
help.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it. But that helped me. Journaling, I feel like also is something that helps me.
Yeah.
I recently started journaling again and just writing down things that make me happy, things that upset me, things
gratitude
I did today.
journal.
Yeah, it's just, I have this mental well-being journal, which just, I know it can sound like a fad to a lot of people, but for me, just putting pen to paper and just being like, okay, this is how I feel in the moment, really helps me gather those thoughts.
I feel like, yeah, I feel like being productive in a way where you go to the gym.
Yeah,
and you
physical well-being
is so important, because I love going to the gym. Like, I'm excited today. I told her, oh, let's take a session tonight, because tomorrow I may not work out.
Yeah.
So I was like, let's just do it today. And it's so important. I feel so good. I'm excited to go to the gym. I'm just like, oh, I'm gonna like learn a new thing. I want to learn pull-ups today, so I just want to practice more. And it just makes me forget about all the other negative thoughts that are running in my head. I'm just focusing on, oh, just being better physically.
Also, scientifically speaking, it's also known to boost serotonin in your body, just like working out and being active.
Yeah.
So I think that is very, very important. You may not feel like it, but just that first hurdle of getting out of bed and just making it to the gym is so, so important.
Then you're like, oh, like it's just like take the first step.
Yeah.
And then you'll be like, oh, thank God I did it. Like I couldn't get out of the bed.
Yeah.
Like I randomly get up and I'm like I'll tell my help, चलो आज कबर्ड बनाते हैं, थोड़ा segregate करते हैं चीज़ों को.
Organizing.
Yeah.
It
And so
helps.
I'm just like, okay, let's do this. And she's like, दीदी आज करें? It's like, हाँ, मैं ये तो बोल रही थी. And then at the end of the day, I'm like, oh, I cleared my cupboard. Now I'm feeling good and it's looking nice. And I wasn't thinking about anything else.
Yeah, decluttering, organizing is so important because it just, I feel like physical decluttering also makes you feel like your mind is decluttered. It just makes you think more rationally.
It just,
it helps somehow. I don't know, it helps us at least.
Yeah.
Another thing that helped
like spending time with friends also.
Yeah.
Like I love game nights.
Yeah.
It's so, the rush, because I am a very competitive person. But the rush that you get after a game night is like insane.
Cinema is one thing that really, really helps me, which is why I'm forever indebted to TV shows like Friends, Modern Family, you know, these Schitt's Creek. I feel like these just make me feel like there's a safe space. You kind of get lost in their world and you feel like you're a part of their family or friend group, and it makes you really feel like it makes you feel safe. You know, and that's why sometimes when people are not able to understand my affection for Friends or Modern Family, I'm just like, it's what it means to me. It was there for me in my darkest hour, and
it just makes you happy.
Me. Like the Friends cast feels like my friends. Modern Family, like Phil and
my
Clara,
family.
my mom, dad. Like that's
feels like
what
family.
it feels. You know, that's really important.
Reading really helps.
Reading helps. It always helps.
Again,
helps you get lost in an art form. For me, what also helped me was taking medication. I was never open to taking any medication, and of course it needs to be clinically prescribed to you, so please don't just go ahead and buy something for yourself. It needs to be prescribed to you by a psychiatrist. But I was always really scared of going to a psychiatrist, just because, you know, growing up, you know this, like my mom battled depression and she very beautifully came out of it as well, but it was just something that in my head felt like was never a route I wanted to take basis what I had seen. And when I did take that medical help that I needed,
you seem so much better.
I genuinely felt better. I felt my mood was elevated. I felt like I was equipped to handle the stress that was given to me, and that's what medication is. I mean, the medication I'm taking is meant to do to you. It's meant
You're
to
such a better person now that I think of it, I used to get so mad at you earlier.
You still get mad at me on a
No,
daily
but
basis.
the way you deal with things now is so
More
much
mature.
better than how you would deal with it earlier.
Yeah, also growing up, I feel, na?
No, I think
Medication.
yeah,
Pharma companies.
No, just dealing with your. It's so important to know that you're going through something and address it.
Yeah. Because very often when we're dealing with things, we just project it onto others.
Yeah.
When I'm mad at myself, I'm going to be mad at you. And
Yeah.
when I'm insecure, I'm going to tell you that you're making me insecure.
Yeah.
And, you know, just stuff like that. So I think if you're just equipped to deal with your own emotions in a certain way, you will just probably just be a better friend, a better person, a
Yeah,
better partner.
If things are good around you, if things are you feeling physically, emotionally, mentally happy, then people around you are happy because you're not projecting anything onto
them.
Yeah.
What are some of the common symptoms or like the first signs that you have noticed in a friend who could be battling anxiety? Like, can you tell? Is that something that you feel like you can?
You can't tell. I don't think I can tell.
Okay.
Unless you address it
Yeah.
or no. And I was like, I didn't know that you. Sometimes people don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
They're just keeping it inside and portraying like a happy self
Yeah.
where you would never know.
Yeah.
But or also it happens.
But there are signs though, obviously.
Yeah.
There's
Also
not always signs. I'm not saying it's with everybody, but
I feel like a lot of people don't share it with people they're not close to, probably. And then suddenly you spend a day with them, and I feel like a lot of times people won't share until you share something that is going on with you.
so do you just make up stories? So they
No,
would
I don't
share
make
stuff?
up stories. I won't make up stories, but I'll talk about. I feel like it just breaks the shell, and then people are like, oh, you know, this was happening with me, and I wouldn't know for the longest time that.
I feel like for me, I have noticed some signs of, you know, dealing with just mental distress in friends, whether it is regarding work or love life or just, you know, whatever, their careers, their relationships, anything. And I feel like a lot of times people would just kind of pretend like they're okay, and they would not even realize, like they would be lashing out at you, they would get angry, they would say things they don't mean, they would get nasty, and that's all coming from a place where they feel not at ease with their own selves. So it's coming all out onto you, and I feel like that is for me is a sign of a little bit of mental distress in people.
Okay.
And I've had this friend who is who never takes any accountability of what he does, and he would always kind of think that there's something wrong with the world, you know, never trying to like look within and change himself. And that for me is kind of like a bit of a sign of what he's going through. Again, I'm not like equipped to diagnose someone with like a mental whatever, but it's just something that could tell you a lot about a person.
Right.
Anxious people talk a lot, if you've noticed. I'm not looking, I mean, I talk a lot as well. Anxious people talk unnecessarily.
Yeah.
They
Yappers.
they're just yappers, yapping away, which is sometimes me. Sometimes I hate the silence so much that if we are sitting, I would just be like, वो संतरा जो कल खाया था मस्त था ना? And you would be like, what? You know, I would just want to talk about
anything and everything.
Anything and everything. Just because I hate the silence so much, because again, like anxious people hate the silence because it makes them think, and they don't want to think because they're already always thinking so much. Anxious people overthink a lot. They tend to just kind of get all up in their head and think of scenarios.
That don't even exist.
Yeah, like sometimes I would just be like, if I would have said this to her when she said this to me, and then I
think that happens to a lot of people. Generally, you're thinking about, I wish I said that.
Yeah.
Like, that's such a better way to deal with it.
Yeah.
But it happens.
Yeah, like all the witty comebacks come to you after a fight.
You're like, oh, that was so funny. I could have said that. And she wouldn't even get offended.
What do you do in order to support a friend or a family member who's going through a mental de-stress?
I think you just have to be there, and like if there are a lot of people who would be in a monetary strain, so what you can do can is just be there and actually be there and help. Saying, oh, a lot of people will not take help. You can't be like, and they'll just be like, no, that's.
You can't solve anyone's problem for them. You can offer help in whatever way you can.
That's what I'm saying. So you can just be like, and they will never take it. But I think it's important that you can just take the step and be like, oh, it's okay to take help, and it's okay to be like, oh, I'm there for you, and actually be there.
Yeah.
Like we are to each other.
Yeah,
right?
of
And
course.
we'll think it's so important to have the friends around you who will not judge you.
Yeah.
For that, because we are so transparent with whatever is like this is like a couple of us, like 5-8 people who will never judge for, because they know they'll never judge for anything that you say, because they've seen you grow, they've seen how you are with your family and how you support people in general.
Yeah, there was like a recent incident that happened in our group, not obviously naming the person, but there was this one person in our group who kind of had a panic attack in the middle of like a great time that we were having, a great trip that we were having, and this person was obviously going through so much. And I remember it was so beautiful for me to see all the friends come together in order to help this person, even though it was at a very unfortunate time that it happened. We were all having a great time, but this person was going through something, and there was just so much recognition and love that we were
without any judgment,
and nobody was like, oh my god, you know what he did yesterday, oh my god, yuck, what a person. Like nobody did that. It was,
of course,
all
you don't know,
coming out
because
of
you see the
concern.
person who's suffering so much and you can't do anything because he's just lost it and he doesn't know how to deal with it, and everyone's like, okay, calm down, it's okay, if you need this, we'll do this.
I remember one person was like rubbing his feet, one person put his feet in the water, one person got him water, one person gave him like some herbal tea to smoke. It was something, I don't know, from Bali. It wasn't weed, it was like something infused with lavender or whatever to calm you down. And
it's so important to have the right people around you who will not judge you. There are a lot of times when like people will be like, hey, kya hai, drama mat kar wapas. Sort of, you don't need that negativity.
Yeah, you don't need friends who are going to take your mental health or their own or anybody's lightly. And
because I think that we have reached a point where there's a problem in everyone's life and they're dealing with a certain set of problems. And more often than not, they understand.
Which is also what's like, there's obviously so much said about social media and its impact on mental health, and our generation specifically being more prone to, you know what, everybody says that, oh, this generation is so anxious and it's like it has so many mental health problems or whatever. But I feel like this generation is just open about it. It probably happened all the time, long time ago also, for different reasons. Of course, globalization and social media kind of gives you that exposure that makes you, that can make you feel like shit about yourself when you look at other people. But it's also the generation that is accepting and loving towards these things and is continuously growing in that space. We talk about mental health on our social media so much. We've seen like bigger people, more famous people kind of actively speak about it and raise awareness about it. And that is so important as well. You know, we can always, you can look at it in any way. You can be like, oh yeah, the negative impact social media has, but you can also be like, it's had a positive impact as well. People used to make fun of people who went to therapy. पागल बुलाते थे वो किसी को जो जाता था. Patient बुलाते थे, क्या बुलाते थे. Ab at least there's an acceptance. Corporate jobs maybe there is I'm sure there are incidents that happen everywhere which are not as great, but there is a wider acceptance, I feel. And that's kind of beautiful for me to just see.
I feel like how, like I was reading the other day, how earlier we only had newspapers. So the news was very local. So people didn't have a lot of problems. So the only problems they had was in the area they were living, because they don't know what's happening. After a while, there came radio. People got more aware about problems around the village and the villages around them. Then they had news. And then people started seeing, oh, what's happening in the world, and there are so many bigger problems than there was happening in the local area. But so aware now, There came social media,
Yeah.
where you'd know what's happening in the end of the world. And you're like, oh, so everyone's just coming together about Olympics right now.
Yeah.
People are just coming together and they're like, oh, this is really wrong or this is really right and this shouldn't
Yeah.
have happened. So a lot of things are people coming together right now is also like a great thing.
Yeah.
Where people were not aware earlier.
People love to feel a part of the community.
Yeah.
That's also why, I mean, off topic, but sports does so well because
Yeah.
people love to feel like they are part of this small or big community that supports this one goal on this
Yeah.
one win, you know.
Yeah.
That's always great.
Yeah.
I think that is our take on mental health and its importance, its impact on our lives through social media and our personal experiences.
Yes. So it's important to take that step, take therapy if you think you need it, or just generally because it really helps you in your daily life. And yeah, try to be more active, proactive, and it might just help.
Thanks so much for watching, guys. One more episode to go before our season ends. So make sure you watch everything and subscribe to our channel.
Because season 2 will come very, very soon and it's going to be even more exciting. I'll see you next time.
Bye.